In peacetime, a company can focus on expanding its market, on creativity, on empowering employees with broad mandates. The goal is to cultivate and grow. In wartime, a company is fighting for its life. The enemy might be a crushing competitor, a macroeconomic collapse, or a dramatic market shift. In wartime, the goals become brutally simple. Survive. Ben Horowitz argues that these two states require fundamentally different leadership styles, different corporate cultures, and different psychological architectures. A peacetime CEO who continues to act like a peacetime CEO in wartime will bankrupt the company. A wartime CEO who continues to act like a wartime CEO in peacetime will demoralize the company and burn everyone out. Welcome back to Hard-Won Wisdom. Today we are exploring the architecture of adaptation. How does a leader know when the context has changed? And how do they enact the deep, structural transformation necessary to survive and thrive in a new reality? This is the art of the pivot. But a pivot is not just changing your product. It is changing your company's soul, and it starts with changing your own. This entire process is a masterclass in the later stages of the inner vision architecture: recognition and understanding. The first and hardest step is recognition. It is the ability to recognize that the world has changed. The strategies, tactics, and beliefs that made you successful in peacetime are now the very things that are putting you at risk. This is incredibly difficult because success creates inertia. The patterns that worked become dogma. The leader who built the successful peacetime company often has their identity deeply fused with that way of operating. To admit that the old way is no longer working can feel like admitting personal failure. This is why many great companies fail. Their leaders cannot recognize that the war has begun until it is too late. A leader with a well-honed inner architecture, however, is constantly scanning for signals of change. They practice what Andy Grove, the legendary CEO of Intel, called productive paranoia. They are attuned to the faint tremors that signal a coming earthquake. They have built a filtering system that prioritizes truth over comfort. They have built a culture where people are not afraid to bring them bad news. Once the recognition dawns, we are at war, the leader must transform themselves. The peacetime CEO is strategic, communicative, and empowering. The wartime CEO becomes a commander. Horowitz describes the wartime CEO in stark terms. They are demanding. They are focused on the mission above all else. They make decisions quickly and decisively, often with incomplete information. They are not concerned with consensus. They are concerned with survival. This is not about becoming a tyrant. It is about embodying the clarity and resolve that the moment demands. The leader's inner architecture must shift from open and expansive to tight and focused. Their mental spotlight narrows to the one or two critical objectives that will determine survival. All other distractions are ruthlessly eliminated. This internal shift must then be transmitted to the entire organization. The architecture of the company itself must pivot. In peacetime, you might have multiple teams exploring innovative but non-essential projects. In wartime, those teams are shut down or redirected to the core mission. In peacetime, you might have a culture that values work-life balance. In wartime, the demand is for total commitment. This is painful. It can feel like a betrayal of the company's original values. This is why the understanding stage is so critical. The leader must be able to communicate the why behind these brutal changes. They must frame the war not as a disaster, but as the company's defining moment. They must articulate a new, clear mission that everyone can rally behind. This is not just about changing the product. The famous pivot of Slack from a gaming company to a communication platform was not just a product decision. It was a moment of profound recognition. The game they were building, Glitch, was failing. But in the process of building it, they had created an internal communication tool that was incredibly powerful. They had to recognize that the side project was actually the real treasure. This required them to kill their original drama, the game they loved, to pursue the far greater opportunity that had emerged from its failure. They had to let the old architecture die to make way for the new one. The pivot is the ultimate test of a founder's attachment to their own ideas. It requires the humility to say, "My brilliant vision was wrong." It requires the courage to lead the team through a period of intense uncertainty and fear. And it requires the strategic clarity to see the new path and commit to it fully. The practice for the leader is to become a student of context, to constantly ask, what is the nature of the reality we are in right now? Is it peace or is it war? You must be willing to be two different people, to run two different playbooks. You must cultivate architectural fluidity. You must be attached to the survival and success of the mission, not to a specific strategy or a specific leadership style. In our next episode, we will explore the most enduring structure a founder builds, the architecture of culture. We will deconstruct how a company's values and beliefs are not what's written on the wall, but are forged in the hard decisions a leader makes, especially during wartime. For now, consider this. In your own work, in your own life, is it peacetime or wartime? Are the strategies you are using matched to the reality of your situation? And are you willing to make the pivot that the moment demands?